Good evening, fellow Plexers. Today's video is going to be for Leo, who has this post and he says he's fixed it. But I'm not sure how he's fixed it because there's two different options and there was a lot of things in the thread that weren't fully descriptive of how to fix it or downright wrong. So what he has one movie that's split across two different files. And he's named them both and put them into a movie library folder, but not into a movie folder itself. So the first file is named Black Butler Book of Murder 2014 Volume 1. No parentheses around the year. And then the second one is named Black Butler Book of Murder 2014 space Volume 2. This second file came the closest to Plex compliancy. So the only place to go from here is to jump into Plex's main support article URL. So if you drop down about 3/4 of the way, you'll see your media. A TV show library is easier because there's really only one article to reference, unless you're using local media assets. There's three main articles in a movie library. So you got naming and organizing your movie files, which we'll go into. And then you have multiple editions, which is a Plex Pass feature. And then multi-versions is something else to be aware of also. So we'll click into the main support article. In every support article for a Plex library of different types, they tell you to separate your media by movies, music, and TV shows, and actually by other videos and photos also. Meaning you should have a library folder for TV shows that's separate from your music collection, that's separate from your movie collection. And then in that library sort folder goes, or that library folder for that type of media goes the movie content. If we drop down a little further, Plex gives us some clear examples. So this is the movie library folder. Then you create a folder named for the movie, and Plex tells us to add the release year in parentheses. And a simple folder with a simple file name is like this: Avatar space 2009 in parentheses for the folder, and Avatar space 2009 in parentheses .mkv. Now the next example is Batman Begins, and the only thing different is they give us an example of how to name a regular English subtitle. There's a subtitle support article that shows you how to name forced or foreign dialogue subtitles and hearing impaired subtitles plus other languages. And you can use EN or ENG for the English language. I prefer ENG on my server. Now the next section is what's most important. Plex can use metadata from either IMDb or the movie database, which I'll refer to as TMDB, and it shows you how to format that source ID formula. So again, using Batman Begins, we have our movie library folder. We have a folder named for the movie, and instead of being named simply, now it's getting a space, curly braces, IMDb dash the TT database number, and curly braces, and then the same for the movie file. Now, honestly, if you just do the source ID in the movie folder, that's enough. You can have a simply named movie file. And here's the example using the movie database. Same thing, the same simple movie folder name, a space, and then inside curly braces, TMDB with the movie database number. And then the same thing for the file name. And again, you don't really need the source ID in the file if you don't want it. I use FileBot to rename all my media, and my custom expression does put the source ID in the file name also. Now, what a lot of people don't realize is IMDb is not a source ID for a TV show library. It's only a source ID for the movie or for the movie library along with the movie database. Now, a TV show library uses either the movie database as primary or TVDB. So you can name from either, but you have to understand in the TV show library, all episode ordering in a default library comes from the movie database. It's a whole different topic, and I cover that in other videos. You can't use IMDb as a source ID in a TV show, just as you can't use TVDB as a source library in the movie data or in the movie library. So if we slide down further, this multiple editions is a Plex Pass feature, and they've added information to it in this article where it wasn't before, and there's still the separate article on it. And again, in curly braces, it shows you how to add that extra information. Anything after edition dash will show up in Plex as a separate poster. So how this is named for Blade Runner, there's 3 Blade Runners. One will scan in as normal, and the other 2 will have each of their unique edition tag displayed. I'll show you that later near the end of the video. So if we slide down further, we come to what Leo really needs. That's movies split across multiple files. And there were a couple of right answers. I think somebody said CD1 and CD2, but now this needs to be formatted correctly. So the legal options for Plex are either CD1 and 2 or 3, disc 1 and 2, spelled each way, DVD, part, or PT. I use PT on my server. It's the shortest one. So using the Dark Knight again, we see the proper movie name. We see the proper movie name is the folder name, the proper movie name for the first part, and then Plex uses its official separator of a space dash space to tell the scanner that what comes after isn't part of the movie name. So if we go back to Facebook, that's why I said this second file came closer to compliancy. If this was part 1 without a space, or PT 1 without a space, or DVD or CD or disc spelled either way, that would be a proper name if the movie was in, or the year was in parentheses. But Plex will scan it without the movie in parentheses, but good compliancy would put parentheses around the year. This one, on the other hand, Plex thinks all of this is the proper movie name it should be scanning for because it lacks the official separator. See the difference? The space dash space, which was probably a lucky accident on Leo's part. All right, so if we go back to the naming guide, this is pretty simple. Pick your pleasure. I like the shortest one, which could also be CD, but CD doesn't make sense because CD is audio in my brain. All right, so if we go to IMDb, and, all right, what the heck's the name of the movie again? Black Butler Book. Black Butler Book. So why I suggest using TMDB is this is not a file, or this is not something you can copy without adjustment because the year is not in parentheses. So let me just copy enough of it to go to TMDB, paste it in. Now, besides the colon, I can just copy all of this and paste it as the folder name and the file name. I don't have to adjust anything besides remove the colon because that's an illegal character under Linux, Mac, and Windows. All right, so what I've got mocked up is where am I? I've got a couple files here. They're just dummy files. Good evening, folks. Just 15-second files that aren't anything that I'm going to rename as Leo has renamed things. So I need to see 2 things. All right, so he does not have parentheses. Then he has a space, volume, space 1. So I'm going to copy, let me get rid of the colon. Then let me copy this to quickly rename the second file. We'll make the adjustment because he does have the space dash space here. So he's got it in a folder named Anime Movies. So let's create that folder. Okay, so there's nothing wrong with this being the name of a library folder, as long as it's not used as a sort folder inside another movie library. So to fix this, I'm just going to go back here, copy this again, and I'm going to create the folder name. And again, I'll remove the illegal character, but usually movies don't have a colon in them. And then I'll take both of these and I'll cut them and put them here. And again, as I mentioned, this second one is closer to being correct. Let me make this full screen. So I'm going to add parentheses around the year and just change volume without a space to PT. And I'm going to copy all of this. And I'll quickly rename this. That's perfectly Plex compliant. So instead of creating a new anime movie library, I'm not going to bother with that folder structure, the library folder structure, and just copy this. So let me go to home. Well, I guess, where am I? I'm on my desktop computer. I want to go onto my newer Synology NAS into this test library structure that's installed on a small SSD volume. And I use sorting folders. So here's my shared media folder for the test. And here's another duplicate of this public domain media on the Rusty array. My real Plex media is in this media-plex shared folder. And you see my sort folders. So let's go into my movie library sort folder. Now, not all of these are movie libraries. So I have a 4K library, a concert, documentary. So 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 7 actual movie libraries. I keep my pre-rolls here. And I don't know what this is. Something I was working on. Maybe I was having trouble with subtitles. I don't know. I'll leave it there for now. If I go into my TV show sort folder, I have 3 there. So just with those 2 types of Plex libraries, I would have 10 library folders. Now, I could have a flat structure where they're all listed at this level and not use the sort folders. But then you add in a music library folder and 5 or 6 photo library folders, and then 2 or 3 other video library folders. It gets confusing to have all that different content all at the same level. So I'd rather do this nested structure where all my movie libraries are in that movie sort folder and so on. So we're just going to do the same thing with this test public domain media on the SSD volume. So I'm going to paste this into the main movie library, but let me get set up for my Plex server so we can see this. So I'm on the test server and I'll go into the movie library, and these are all public domain movies. These are real movies. I can show these with subtitles and it won't cause a YouTube strike. All right, so let's paste that structure into here. Remember, they're just short 15-second dummy files. They're not a real movie. Now, I don't remember if I have this library set up to scan automatically. So let me scan it manually. Oh, I didn't get it into the right structure. I put it at the library level. My mistake. So let me cut that out of here and put it into the actual library and see if automatic scanning is enabled. Okay, it is. It's scanning it and it found it. So this is an easy fix, but there's one drawback for people who happen to have a little bit or a lot of OCD, and that's what we'll show now. So it's scanned in. Each part is 15 seconds long, maybe a little bit more. So it shows the total length is 31 seconds. And this kind of bugs people because Plex does not pull as metadata the runtime of a movie and displays the actual runtime of a movie you have. But there's a little secret benefit to that as a little segue. If you add a movie and the runtime doesn't match because maybe it's 2 or 3 or 10 minutes longer, that's a very good clue that you don't have the original theatrical release. You may have a special edition, maybe a director's cut with scenes added back in, maybe an extended version, and that gives you the chance to do a little research to see if the runtime of your copy matches up with one of those other editions. And then with a Plex Pass, you can explore the multi-version naming like we just saw briefly. I'm sorry, multiple edition. That's the Plex Pass feature. You can explore that to add the right edition tag name to it to have it scan in as another version of the theatrical one.
Ring, 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 ring.
All right, sorry, I'm getting a call on Google Voice, and I had to stop it on 2 different devices. And you can hear in the background it's still ringing the home phone. Okay, so that's a benefit. If the runtime is different, it gives you a clue that you may have a special edition of the movie. So now here's another little thing that might bother somebody with OCD. So it shows the runtime is 31 seconds, but when I play it,
good evening, fellow
it
Plexers.
shows 15 seconds down here. So if we let it go,
It's a simple dummy file to be used in place of a real Plex media file to show how to rename and use FileBot, all for a Plex server.
it automatically plays the second part, which just happens to be 15 seconds long too. This won't bug a lot of people, but it will bug some very badly. So that's why I don't call the naming way to fix this issue the preferred way, which is what we'll get to next. So let me go back to the movie library level and let's pull this out again. Where are we? I'm going to cut it and I'm going to move it right back to my local structure. Get it off my NAS. Well, I guess I copied it over and didn't cut and paste it. So I overwrote it. So we're going to fix this by joining the 2 files. And we're going to use Mkvtoolnix, which I have pulled up, ready to go here. It's free software under Linux, Mac, and Windows. You can't help but use something that's both good and free. So I could open up Mkvtoolnix separately and just arrange things right to drag the first part in. Now, under Linux, or at least this Linux distro, which is Pop! OS, I can right-click, open with application, open with other application, and I may have to find Mkvtoolnix the first time, but once I do, it's always on the list. I can open it that way too. So again, we'll drag the first part in. Oh, sorry, it still had the first part in from when I did it before. So I'll drag the first part in fresh. And now all I have to do is right click on that part and choose append files. And I may have to go find the folder structure again. So I'll go to home and I'll go to media public domain, movie library for the sort folder. And then, oh, I forgot where I have it. Oh, okay, I have it in different structure. So let me go into home again, under downloads, FileBot working folder, movies, temp 2. Nope, I've got some things missing subtitles there. Movies, temp, anime, the movie folder, and now I can click on this second part. So your structure on your local computer won't be as advanced as mine. So I'm just clicking on the second part, choosing open, and now both parts are here. I want to do one more little trick. I want to come over, right click on the folder, Control C to copy it, come back to Mkvtoolnix, click on the output and give it the proper name. It's either do this now or rename it after it's done. And let me narrow this up. And I'll click Start Multiplexing, and it happened in an instant because it's a tiny file. And now inside here, I have the new joined file alongside the original parts, so it doesn't ruin the original parts. And if I click into it with Mkvtoolnix,
double plexers. This is just
you'll see it's 31 seconds long.
To be used.
Okay, so now let's get rid of these two parts of it. I don't want to. This is not going to work on everything. The media has to be encoded the same way for this to work. So if one of these was an MKV file at, say, 720p, and one was an AVI at 720p, you're not going to be able to join them with Mkvtoolnix. You'd have to run them through Handbrake first. So before we move this into the Plex server, let's just show that. Now I can right-click and open with application to go to Handbrake, or I could open it manually and drag the file in. So I have a couple options to speed this process up under hardware. I'm going to use the NVIDIA 3060 GeForce card in this desktop computer, and I'll pick 1080p. I could also pick from hardware the iGPU of my Intel processor with QuickSync 1080p, H265. But we'll stick with the NVENC. So you could just hit start, but you might downgrade for audio. So click on the audio tab, double click this, or where is there an edit? I don't think there's an edit. Hold on, let me do it this way. Double click this and make sure your new sampling rate and the number of channels is the same. So if this was a 5.1 original, by default, this is going to open up to downmix it to stereo. So you'd want to change it back to whatever you had, and maybe change the bit rate back to match what the bit rate might be reported up here. And the same with subtitles. If you have embedded subtitles, click on this, and then go to tracks and add all, and just let it go that way. So you do have to do that little bit of extra work so you don't downgrade your audio or lose your subtitles. And now you pick a directory for it to go in, and you just hit start. Now this is a fairly small file. Did I click start? There it is. So it's not taking it very long to convert. Really quick, and the results are in this folder. So you do that with both parts if they're that different, and then the results can be joined with Mkvtoolnix once they're encoded the same way. And you know, while we're speaking of Mkvtoolnix, let me show you something else. Let me take something here. I need something with an embedded subtitle. I don't know if I have an example. Well, instead of looking for something with an embedded subtitle, let's take something and embed the subtitle. So let's copy this movie, because if I'm going to show you Mkvtoolnix, I'll show you all of it, because that's the star of this video. So while that's copying, while it's copying in the wrong place, my mistake. Let's get rid of that. Let's go back, copy it again. Let's go up one folder level, and we'll place it here. This way I can move this into the Plex structure. So this is the joined file. You can even name it special if you want. So again, Plex is going to ignore anything after the space dash space. And in a TV show library, Plex ignores anything in brackets. So I'm going to name this split joined just to prove it won't interfere with a matching. Let's correct my spelling. All right, so now we're going to move this back to this library. And Plex will automatically scan it. So now when we click into it, we see the runtime matches what the media file actually is. So if we play it and skip ahead to...
Good evening, fellow Plexers.
12 seconds.
FileBot, all for a Plex server. Good evening, fellow Plexers.
The second part is now joined with the first, so it just continues playing, and our runtime is now accurate for the whole file and not accurate for each individual file that's actually playing. So this is the OCD free fix. And actually, I think it's a better fix anyway. All right, so our file copied over. So let's go back to Mkvtoolnix. Let's close that and we'll start it fresh. So I'm going to go into the brain that wouldn't die. And I have a regular English SRT subtitle, which is just a text file. So this is another little pro tip. If you have a subtitle file in this format that has advertising, just cut it out. Doesn't matter if the advertising is 1 and 2, it's in there twice, and your first subtitle starts as labeled 3, just cut the advertising out, save the file, and you won't see it in your subtitle. Okay, so let's open this in Mkvtoolnix. Now I want to embed the subtitle, and this is actually a good test. See how the audio is not labeled as English? We're going to fix that at the same time. I'm going to take the subtitle file and drag it into the top window. Now this option pops up. I want to add as a new source file to the current multiplex settings. And now you see it here and it's labeled correctly as English, but if it wasn't, maybe it was a forced subtitle, I could change the forced flag to yes. Or maybe I had a forced, a hearing impaired, and a default subtitle. The hearing impaired can be flagged properly too. So let's fix this audio flag. It's unknown language, and Plex will not know what language it is. So we'll click undetermined here. Under language, I'll click again, and I'll scroll up and just pick English and OK. It's already flagged as the default one, and all I have to do is hit Start Multiplexing, and now I won't give it a name, so I'll show you what happens without naming it. Really didn't take too long. Now let's make this full screen. So it was an MP4 that I opened up, and I had to associate MP4 files with Mkvtoolnix, where MKVs were already associated with it when I installed the program. So these are the original files, and now this one is the file that has the embedded subtitle. And actually it already had one apparently. And if I go to the audio section in VLC, you see it's properly labeled. So now if I open up the MP3, because the external subtitle is named properly, there it is, and the audio is not labeled. Oh, and I know why the fixed ones show two subtitles. It's because of this subtitle here. So if I rename this to something that won't match with it, and now I open up this, let me pause it, it only shows the embedded subtitle. So you can have a subtitle embedded, and then if you need other subtitles, you do not have to embed them in the media container file. You can leave whichever embedded subtitle there alone and add an external. As long as it's named correctly, VLC and Plex will find it. So VLC is a very handy program. FileBot's handy. It's a great renaming utility. And of course, Handbrake. I might as well show FileBot with my custom expressions. I'm going to open up all three of those files in FileBot. And this may not work with a subtitle with a hacky name like that. I'm going to choose my custom expression. And it's not going to rename this file. You see how it has a green dot? But it is going to rename these two. And it's actually going to associate this with the one that has the embedded subtitle in it. And my custom expression adds the flag of either ENG sub or UND for undetermined sub. So that would tell you that you have a media container file with an unlabeled subtitle in there. Now, if you had three subtitles and only one's unlabeled, it won't tell you that. It'll tell you if there's any English subtitles out of the three and name it appropriately. But I've got plenty of FileBot videos, and it's just a quick way to rename things. And let me do one more thing because FileBot's capable of more. Let me go to my trash, and I don't think, where is it? I got rid of the split files, and now I want them back. So I don't know where they went to at this point. But I was going to show you how my custom expression can handle split files. So we won't give you the full example, but I'll edit my preset. And mine only handles split files for one type of split files. And where is it? All right, so I must be mistaken. I thought I had an expression that did that. Maybe it's for TV series. Oh yes, I've only employed this in my TV series FileBot expression. I haven't added it to the movie expression yet, but the developer of FileBot helped me come up with this, which I'm going to see if I can make larger. So this added to my expression, curly braces space fn.match parentheses slash space dash space pt brackets 0 through 9 end brackets slash end parentheses space end curly braces. This handles anything that's already named PT 1 or 2, and if you wanted to use part 1 and 2, you would simply change this to part or DVD or CD or disc or whatever. So FileBot's probably the most important of the three programs. So that's about it. The better fix is to join the two with Mkvtoolnix, especially if you have OCD like me, and Plex will give you the proper runtime. And it's important to know how to use Mkvtoolnix because I think any new movie you add, especially if it's acquired where it fell off the back of the truck, you should open it up to make sure that it has the right flags for audio and subtitles. Because when you set your language sections or language settings in Plex, they won't work unless the media is flagged properly for the proper languages, which just sounded very redundant, but this video is getting long, so I will end it. Happy Plexing.